All right, it's been a while, but we have a little bit more of a Jack Silvagni update. Let's talk about it. So we know that the Pies are heavily pursuing Jack Silvagni. Craig McRae comes out, says he's gone on a first date with him, and he kicked it off really well. That was a couple of weeks ago. There was a bit of huff from other coaches about that. Chris Scott said he wouldn't do it. Michael Voss, obviously the coach of Carlton and Jack Silvagni's coach, said, I wouldn't publicly say this and that and stuff like that. Which is, look, fair enough, each to their own, but Fly's been so honest and open about his intentions and how he is as a person and as a coach that, I didn't have any problem with it. So, but maybe it's just because I'm a Collingwood supporter. But on Gettable today, Riley Beveridge was asked about Jack Silvagni and where that's sort of laying and what's going on there. And he said this.
He has now met with the Western Bulldogs, which is the third rival club he has met with. So, as we know, he met with Collingwood and Fly. Craig McRae was very open about that. He's met with Brad Scott as he weighs up interest from Essendon, but he has now met with key and senior figures at the Western Bulldogs across the last week. So I still think Collingwood has its noses in front, but I don't think it's as significant as it was maybe a week or two ago when he first met with Craig McRae and figures at Collingwood. I think that gap now is potentially closing, although if I was to call it, I still think Collingwood is the favourites here.
So that's really interesting. From, a couple of weeks ago, people saying Jack Silvagni is all but signed at Collingwood with a 4-year deal around the same money. Now he's met with Essendon, which is fair enough. He's a free agent. He can meet with, whoever the hell he wants. But he's met with Essendon and he's met with the Western Bulldogs, so doing his due diligence. But the Western Bulldogs, the confidence is growing there that he could play for them. And in my mind's eye, I can see Jack in a Bulldogs jersey. So that hurts. I can see that happening. Can't see him for Essendon. But you know, now from this wide gap, it's kind of like what we've done with our ladder position at the moment. From being 10 points up to being back in the pack, we were leading this Jack Silvagni race by a long way. And now, we've only got our noses in front because these other clubs have come out and met with him. Now, it's not being reported what their contracts are or lengths or anything like that money wise. So we don't really know. So all that we can go off is that it has to be 4 or more years, has to be better or the same money. Otherwise, he'll stay at Carlton. So Graham Wright, the CEO of Carlton, came out and said in an interview with on SEM that Jack Silvagni has had a contract in front of him, a 4-year contract in front of him since rounds, about 13 or 14, and he still hasn't signed. He wants him to finish his career at Carlton. So I don't know. That's telling to me that you've had a contract in front of you, and you haven't signed yet with your boyhood club, your legacy club. So I still think that he leaves, but now from feeling super confident, now I'm not feeling as confident with the Bulldogs being a big player. I don't worry about Essendon, but with the Bulldogs being a bigger player now in this game, that we're only, Riley's saying we're only a nose in front of us. So we're only a nose in front of getting Jack. So it's still a wait and see. I dare say we won't hear anything more from Collingwood rumour regarding Jack Silvagni until maybe the end of the season, and maybe he gets spotted at the AIA Centre, which I highly doubt. But wouldn't that be sick? Wouldn't that be absolutely incredible? I do want to quickly mention a couple more things. So Jamie Elliott, so speaking of Jack Silvagni having a contract in front of him, Jamie Elliott and Brody Mychek have had contracts in front of them. So Jamie's got 2, Brody Mychek's got 1. They still haven't signed. Now, I don't usually say, "Oh, I'm hearing this," but look, I'm hearing, and take this with a huge grain of salt. It's not from inside the club, but this is just what I'm hearing, that Jamie has pretty much signed or will go to the Lions in free agency. I'm not too sure about Brody Mychek, but I'm hearing that Jamie will go up to Brisbane for the next couple of years. I think they're offering him 2 or 3 years, and he'll finish his career out at the Lions. But I hope it's not true, because Jamie Elliott is my favorite player. As many of you know, I love everything about him. I've seen him just just grow up. And I've been through all those injuries with him and stuff like that. So that would absolutely break my heart. But that's what I'm hearing. So I thought I'd just relay that message. Now, another one is Beau McCreary touring Port Adelaide. So that came from some random bloody Twitter user or X, whatever you want to call it. That's from what I've heard and who I've talked to. That's not true at all. I think the Gold Coast one has a little bit more legs than this Port Adelaide one. Like injured, you're rehabbing. Why would you tour the Port Adelaide facilities? You're contracted until 2027. Port don't have much to offer us anyway if he were to leave. So I don't see that sort of happening. But again, his contract is until 2027. If we're looking at extending his contract, that'll be sometime into 2026, where we extend it further than 2027. So that's a wait and see as well. But from what I heard and what I know, that Port Adelaide meeting didn't happen. But again, grain of salt, because what would I know? But that was just a quick trade, contract, free agency update on Silvagni and a couple other Collingwood players. Let me know your thoughts down below. Who actually would you want to see us go for in the free agency period? But until then, like, comment, subscribe, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your pets, and until next time, double shackers. I'll super later.